Hi there, it's Storosphere and it's story time, and today we are going to be featuring a story from Corpse Husband, a YouTube channel dedicated to horror stories. Grab your popcorns and enjoy. Also, you can share your original true or fictional scary stories to get featured in future videos.
I used to work at a security company with a bunch of friends. We all got along well, and most of us even hung out after work. The ones I didn't hang out with kept to themselves. There were two brothers that worked nights with me, and they were their own little group. They were new to the company and would have many conversations about their guns. Bill was the older brother and Luke was the younger brother. After hearing Luke and Bill talk about target shooting so much, I developed an interest. I don't own a single firearm, but my roommate owns several. I mentioned at work one night that I was going shooting in the morning with my roommate and I needed a good place to go. Well, the two brothers pointed out a spot on Google Earth for me and said it was great and they have shot up there once before. It was 45 minutes away and higher up in the mountains. I knew the spot precisely due to a single image posted to the coordinates on Google Earth with used shotgun shells covering the ground. I decided that was a good spot as any and told my roommate Don where to drive us. We arrived the next morning at 10 a.m. and parked at the top of the hill. We saw our spot about 150 yards away in a clearing down in the valley and began hiking down. On a quick side note, I wear this very bright neon yellow hooded sweatshirt at work and during the winter. I am also a pretty large guy. Being big and brightly colored makes you very visible from very far away. I've seen hunters using bright colors to avoid accidentally getting shot by other hunters, so I decided to wear my trademark bright hoodie on our little hike. We made it a quarter way down the hill and I see a group of fellow target shooters at our desired spot. These were the only other people we had seen in 30 minutes. Our spot is taken. Lame, I said. And the second I said lame, that's when shit hits the fan. We're on the side of the mountain walking down towards them and the rounds start flying. This group was shooting at us. Don and I were targets for about 3 guns and we didn't have any immediate cover. I see Don running across the mountain, strafing the shooters. I see what he was running for. It was a small plateau about 20 yards next to us. The sounds of bullets flying inches away from my ears is a sound I will never forget. Movies do not do the sound justice at all, not even close. I still get chills thinking about it right now. The vibration and rotation of the bullets chilled my bones. It's not a sound I want to ever hear again. It made everything go slow-mo and very clear. My adrenaline was kicking in. We made it to cover and hit the dirt. We were pinned down, but we had cover now. I had to have heard at least 100 rounds pass just over the lip of the plateau. I heard a pistol, a rifle, and a shotgun. I know I did. The trees, boulders, and mountainside were being hammered by rounds after round. If we sat up from our cover, we'd have been shot in the face. These people were shooting up a hill towards a road. They had their backs to their paper targets. Thinking back on it, my father said I should have yelled down to them to let them know they were shooting at 2 people and to hold their fire, but the thing is, I think they knew they were shooting at us. How could they not? We weren't that far and the mountainside was almost bare. I didn't want to let them know they were close to hitting us. I should have shot back. We had the high ground, but I'm not a killer. We just waited and listened for their footsteps and wanted them to stay where they were. If we were killed, no one would ever find our bodies out there. 15 minutes went by and the gunfire didn't let up until it just ended. The mountain was quiet again. After 5 more minutes of silence, we checked down the hill. They were gone. We had our guns ready as we scanned the valley down below, and nothing. No more guys, no vehicle, just their garbage left behind. We decided this was a great time to get the hell out of the hills. We made it back to our car and back to our house faster than ever. When I went back to work the next shift, I told this story to everyone. I even thanked Bill for the sweet advice. He apologized for the bad locals and said that's crazy. Another coworker told me Bill and Luke went out shooting the same morning as I did, in the same area. I asked Bill about it immediately. Asked him where he went shooting and what guns he brought to shoot. He pointed at the same damn Google Earth image as before. Luke, his friend, and a psycho had almost killed us. He denied shooting at us, even changed his mind about where they were shooting. He said he was actually 2 miles west because his GPS was inaccurate. I knew he was lying, but what could I do? I had no proof. He worked with me for another 2 years before I moved away and never heard from them again. I remember how emotionless he was when he denied shooting at me. He was like a robot. We never spoke about it. I haven't gone shooting since. Number 2. This is a story my friend told me that happened to her older sister. She goes to a large, private religious university in Utah. She was staying in an apartment not too far from campus with 3 other girls. The semester had just started and 2 of the 3 girls were asleep. My friend's sister was on her phone sitting in the living room when she heard what sounded like footsteps outside the window behind her. She listened closely and dismissed it as a stray cat or maybe a dog. Soon after, she heard a thud against the dining room wall coming from the outside and heard what sounded like muffled whispering. My friend's sister is an excellent marksman, so she decided to scare whoever was outside by opening the blinds and turning on the lights and grabbing the shotgun she kept on the mantle and pointing at the window while screaming for the other girls to wake up. She saw a short man wearing all black and a ski mask running away. The cops came shortly after and she filed a report. Fast forward a few weeks later. My friend's sister keeps seeing a small white truck with tinted black windows following her. She dismisses it as her imagination, but it freaks her out a little bit. One weekend, her roommates have gone out of town, so it's just her by herself. Right as she's trying to fall asleep, she hears a pounding at her door. She bolts the door and looks through the peephole to see a cop standing there. "Who are you?" she asks. "I'm a cop," says the guy. "Open up, it's the law," he yells menacingly. My friend is starting to call bullshit, but she's scared of disobeying him if he actually is a cop. "Why are you here so late?" she asks. "Remember a few weeks ago when that guy tried to break into your house? Yeah, I have an update on him." My friend is freaking out now because why would a cop come try to talk to her about the case so late and by himself? He wasn't even the officer who helped her fill out her report. "Show me your badge," she demanded. He pulled it out and shoved it into the peephole, and my friend sighed a breath of relief. Right as she was unlocking the door, she glanced down at his legs and noticed this cop had very elevated platform boots, a knife on his utility belt, and the name on his uniform didn't match the name on his badge. "You're not a fucking cop," she yelled at him. The fake cop screamed and started slamming on the door saying, "I am an officer of the law and you will obey me. Open up, police." She called 911 and held her weight behind the front door, clutching her shotgun until the cops arrived. The guy was long gone by then, but he left behind his hat, which was a prop from a party store. The day after this, my friend broke her lease, moved to a new city in Utah, transferred schools, and bought a Doberman to keep her company. They never caught the guy, so hopefully he never does this to another girl again. Number 3. I went to middle school and high school with a tall, skinny guy who I had occasional interactions with, but I always got a weird vibe from him. In my senior year, I saw a Facebook post he made that said, "I bet I could get more kills than the Virginia Tech guy if I wanted to, but I don't want to." Despite him saying he didn't want to, I found this concerning enough to report it to the school. Fast forward a couple months later, he was out of JJC, and to make a long story short, he had found out I reported him. We had apparently made peace after smoking weed with some mutual friends, and it was enough for me not to expect getting jumped in the hallway anytime soon. We both ended up going to a local college, and I would see him around campus. Whenever he spotted me, we'd have these brief, awkward conversations about how life was going, and I would try my best to stay polite while not sounding creeped out. Then, one day, I was at McDonald's with my roommate when I hear someone whisper in my ear, "I'm going to kill you someday." I turned around to see him smile and wave at me before walking away. I haven't seen him since then, but I always stay alert for the next random moment where I'll encounter him. Hopefully, what he said that day was just a joke. Number 4. This all took place back in November of last year. I booked an entire trip in order to propose to my then girlfriend. Flew us both out to Florida to go to Disney World, the last concert of one of our favorite bands, Anberlin, and of course, propose. We had a blast. I proposed in the Disney castle and she said yes, everything went well. We took off the next morning, Thanksgiving Day, on the way home, connecting through San Francisco. About 30 minutes into the flight, the captain comes on the intercom and announces that one of the engines wasn't depressurizing properly. We do a loop back to the airport and get unloaded into the terminal as we wait for another plane to be readied. When we got to the terminal, my now fiancée switched her phone back from airplane mode, and within a minute she had 10 plus voicemails, all from the same number, which she didn't know. Fearing the worst, we called the number without listening to any of the voicemails. I knew something was wrong as soon as she started talking to them. Her face went blank and she didn't say a word. I told her to give me the phone and she did. I asked who it was and the voice I heard back just sounded dead, absolutely no hint of emotion in it. All he said was, "I will kill you both as soon as you land in Seattle." I asked who he was again and he just hung up. She said she had no idea who it was and I certainly didn't know the voice. I called him back and he would answer and just repeat the time that we were landing. Little did he know we were delayed hours. Anyway, I used to work in telecom and I pulled some strings to get a name and address from the phone number that he used. Neither of us knew the name nor the address. She looked him up on Facebook and she had one mutual friend with him, her ex-best friend, we'll call her Karen, that she no longer was friends with as she got wrapped up in heavy drug usage and stole from my fiancé. We did a little more digging and found out he was the boyfriend of Karen's new best friend. My theory is Karen saw all the posts that my fiancé was posting on social media about the trip, the engagement, and the great time we were having, and she was pissed and wanted to piss on our parade. I didn't take it as a joke, however. I mean, a death threat is a death threat, and in my mind, as meth heads, they could follow through with it on a whim. I called him and talked over his rambling and told him I was armed, knew where he lived, and was not afraid to take things into my own hands. He hung up on me, so I called the Seattle area law enforcement and they told me to call back on a non-holiday. Like, what the fuck is that supposed to mean? So I called the emergency line and they reiterated the same statement. We were on our own. We ended up flying in close to 9 hours after our original arrive time. Once we landed, we both had a single voicemail. Hers, I assumed, was from the guy, and mine, I have no idea, as he hadn't been calling my phone. My voicemail was from my dad, who said he had gotten a call from my neighbors saying that my mailbox had been destroyed. It looked like it had been hit by a car and the mail was stolen from it. Her voicemail, however, was the guy screaming, "Where were you? How dare you?" and plenty of other threats and random yelling. I drove home and dropped off my fiancée at her house, insisting she not come with me to my place in case there was someone still there. They threw a brick through my window with an old picture of my fiancé and Karen attached to it. I tried calling him, but to no answer. I went to bed after covering up the windows with a tarp and making sure my fiancé was okay. I filed a police report the next day. They said I couldn't do anything without seeing them on my property. We blocked everyone involved on social medias and went about our lives. I didn't hear from him for 3 weeks when he sent me a picture of my fiancée working. I immediately called her and told her to go to the back of her work, a bubble tea shop. I then called mall security and explained the situation, but by the time they got to the food court where the picture was taken, he was gone. At this point, I was done messing around. I knew his address and swung by and dropped off a note attached to a critical defense .40 bullet, saying, "This is your last chance to leave her alone. This is your only warning. It's been almost 9 months now, and I haven't heard a word or seen him again. But for both of our sakes, I sincerely hope not to meet you, Tyler."